Hello! It's us again. Different video this time. We're not got any specific boat-related news, unfortunately, but we're going to be doing something a little bit more explainy, because we've decided it's time that we actually tell you the strange and mysterious story of exactly why we're doing this. It is a strange story, isn't it, really?
Not that strange.
Well, don't be so non-committal, honestly, it's exceedingly strange. Honestly, we've got to build this up a bit. No one's going to watch this if they just go, oh well, it's only moderately strange. But, anyhow, yes, this time we are going to just take you through some of the stages of exactly how we ended up thinking that it would be a good idea to live on a narrowboat. Now, I never saw myself as someone who'd actually owned their own house. I've worked as a freelancer for the last almost 15 years now, and I've never been excessively good at making money at it. I've done, you know, I'm still here, but owning houses felt like something that happened to other people and something that I didn't really need to worry about, something that you could just put off. And I just figured I would be renting because I didn't really have much choice. I never saw that changing, but then I met Emma, and for Emma, things have been a little bit different.
I used to own my own house and a business with my partner, my ex-partner. When we split up, I walked away from the relationship with very little. I had some savings, which I hope to keep for a deposit on a new house. I started setting up my own business, and I got really poorly, and I lost a lot of my savings. I sort of burned through them as a consequence. Just really bad timing. It turns out that if you're in your own business or you're a freelancer, you need to put down a 40% deposit on a mortgage. And there was no way that we could do that. That would take years, maybe a decade, for us to actually save enough. And all that time we'd be wasting thousands of pounds a year on rent. So we were trapped in the rental market. And I was getting really depressed about it. Because I was working and working and working, and it all felt really pointless. And I just kind of went plink about a year and a half ago.
It was a bit of a plink, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a sort of a, I'm not doing this anymore. This is not how I want to live my life. I'm wasting my life. There's various things that you can do to live mortgage free. You can live in a yurt. Illegally, if you sort of own a small piece of land, there are a lot of people who hide away. You can house sit. There are companies that look for people to look after houses. You can live in a motorhome or a camper van. Campsites are quite expensive. There's very little point in moving into a motorhome if you're going to live on campsites, because it doesn't work out that much cheaper. But there are people who just travel around and park on the road. But that didn't really feel very safe. I sort of struck on the boat idea after I read an article in The Guardian about people who were finding ways to live mortgage free. And they had an interview with a woman who lived on a barge in London, and she just travelled around London, moved a boat every couple of weeks, and lived on the boat. And it sounded so freeing. It sounded lovely, just taking your home with you, and being somewhere peaceful, in spite of being in a heavily populated area. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought you can kind of have the best of both worlds. Sometimes I find the city overwhelming, and I used to live in sort of the countryside, and I really like going out to the countryside and feeling peaceful and getting away from it all. But I do like the city sometimes, in small doses, and the idea of being able to travel around, visit all different kinds of different places, live in the city for a little while, then living in the countryside for a while, that really appealed to me.
When Emma said this to me, my first reaction was to say no. It was an interesting idea, but it didn't seem practical, and I thought that was going to be it. It sat in my head. It didn't go away. There were things like the fact that we'd had problems with a neighbour in the block of flats where we were living in Manchester that had been unpleasant at times, and the idea of being in a situation where if there was a neighbour or someone nearby who you didn't like, you could just go and take your home with you. I liked that. And there were various other practical things that I thought were going to be a definite reason why we couldn't do it, that I then looked into and realised, oh, that actually seems to work. And so the idea sat there, and it wouldn't go away. So yeah, I was thinking about all of this. This was going through my head. And at the same time that this was actually happening, we were living here in Manchester. And as it turns out, there's a lot of canals in Manchester. I'd seen them, but I hadn't strictly noticed. It's very easy to live in Manchester and just not really spot the canals that much, because an awful lot of them are just like tucked away between streets and down these little nooks and alleys that you don't really register if you're not actually looking for them. So because my brain had started going in canal boat related directions, we started exploring, and it was absolutely fascinating. It's like this hidden world that's just tucked away around the corner where we weren't expecting it to be, and it was quieter as well. It's surprising how quiet a canal in the middle of a busy city can be. So we explored and we had a look, and we started liking it even more, really. And we continued thinking about it and continued thinking, yeah, this sounds nice, you know. Living in and around areas like this sounds like something I can do. It was a bit of a surprise, really, but as I've said before, I just kind of continued onwards with it, waiting for something to tell me I couldn't do it. I'm still waiting. One of the places we actually came to quite a lot when we were exploring the canals in Manchester was this place. This is Castleford Basin. It's a lovely area. It's just at the top of Castleford in Manchester, and there are always boats parked here. There are there's quite a few people who obviously quite a few boaters who obviously actually live here, and it was one of the nice things about it that once we actually started having serious thoughts about this, we could come and look at boats. We could just see how they were decorated, how they were built, you know, whether they were long or short, and just you know, being able to actually see them, not just like looking at photographs, being able to just go and see stuff like this helped an awful lot. And no, it's always interesting just seeing the different styles and seeing how people had approached them, really. No, we spent lots of afternoons down here having a look around, and it was very useful, and it really just sort of cemented in our heads how interesting and how much we wanted to do this. I think it was the sense of adventure that I really, really liked about it. Just the idea that it was actually going to be... It was something that was just going to make our lives completely different. Were you surprised, actually? Because, I mean, you know, I know, like, from day one you were pretty much, like, up for this, but how...
I was surprised, actually.
Yeah, so were you...
I didn't think you'd go for it.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess, what would you have done if I hadn't? Or would you have just, like, worn me down?
Yeah, I kept pestering.
Okay, that's nice to know. But yeah, it's just the idea of just changing our lives so radically. It was really exciting, and it also helped when it really sunk in how big the canal network was and how many places we'd be able to go. I think it also helped when we like told our respective parents, and they didn't look at us as if we were insane. That helps a lot, because that's kind of like a big change. That's a big step.
I must say, we're getting a very big loan from my dad.
Yes. We're not saying how big the loan is.
It's big.
It's big. And we are exceptionally grateful.
That my dad's in that position. That
Yeah.
he can spend his money.
Yeah. It certainly helped, particularly with my dad, because my dad is my dad's very serious and very practical, and he's very no nonsense, and he would have told me if I was being exceedingly silly, but we told him, and yeah, he'd actually considered doing something similar at one point, which was a bit of a surprise, but yeah, that was kind of what got us on the course. One of the other things that's kind of kept us excited over the last 18 months when we've actually been working on this idea has actually just been sitting here looking at this map and generally just getting really excited about all the places where we can go. I mean, I don't know, is there anywhere you're sort of specifically looking forward to? We haven't really talked about this much, but
there's a few places on the Kennet and Avon that I'd like to visit.
Yeah, it's very picturesque down there, isn't it?
Sort of some nice places in the Midlands, and around sort of Cheshire, Chester, and back where we went on the boating holiday up to sort of the Peak Forest Canal. Ah,
yes. Although, I mean, I guess it's going to help that hopefully the boat that we are actually having built
will steer a bit
better.
It's
going to steer better than yes. That hire boat was a challenge, but then also the Peak Forest Canal generally.
Apparently, hire boats are built. Well, they're not built ideally in terms of being able to steer. They're designed rather for other things.
Yes, which is exactly what you want to be giving to people who have never steered a boat before and are sort of doing it for the first time. It's just, you know. but it's cheap, of course. Another actual advantage that we're going to be getting is that we used to go to a lot of like science fiction and writing and comic conventions. We don't do that quite as much anymore because...
Being able to afford to.
Well, yeah, they are expensive. But one of the biggest expenses with these things is actually just sort of hotels
and train tickets.
Yeah, and particularly it's Thought Bubble, a very good comic convention that happens in Leeds that we've been to a few times now. One of the things that's really appealing is that once we got the boat sorted, theoretically, for Thought Bubble 2016, we're going to be able to park our boat, as long as we book the right space, we'd be able to park our boat like a minute's walk from the main entrance to the convention, which is...
It's literally, it's on the dock side.
Yeah. So. Which is nuts, and I love that. I really do. I'm looking forward to that because you know, even with some of the places where we can't necessarily park next door to where the convention is, we're going to be like a short bus ride or somewhere.
Yeah, there are often conventions in the Heathrow area, which is, you know, A 20-minute walk or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not like
about a mile or something.
You know, it's survivable. It's you know, obviously Heathrow is not heavy on canals, but I think the thing that I'm looking forward to the most, and I'm fairly sure it's the thing that you're looking forward to the most, and kind of the main motivating force behind the decision and behind the reason why we're doing this, is that we're going to have a space that's ours. And I didn't really appreciate how important that was and how powerful I would actually want that until I had the opportunity to have it, really. Because of course you've had that, and
yeah, just having a space that you can decorate in your own way, and you know you can put things on the walls.
Yeah.
And it's yours. It's not someone else's. It makes a big difference to how you feel about the space that you're in.
Exactly. Yeah, and just to be able to do that, it's been really nice just to be able to look forward to that, and to know that that's somewhere we can actually get to. It's not, you know, it's not hypothetical. It's not like, oh well, if we raise enough money, maybe we can do this in 5 years. It's like, they're building the boat now. You know, it's actually happening pretty soon.
They are building the boat right now.
They are, yes. But essentially, that's why we're doing this, really. We possibly could have done it slightly shorter, but honestly, it's a big, complicated decision, really. And you know, like all big, complicated decisions, it's made of lots and lots of little decisions that kind of all form together to like a big transformer into a big decision. I'm going to leave that metaphor alone now. That's probably the wisest thing. But anyway, well, look, I hope you've enjoyed watching this explanation and digression, and we hope it's been kind of useful and interesting, really. If you've got any questions, or if there's anything, you know, if there's anything else we haven't gone into that you'd like to find out about, if you go to the description text for the video, there'll be a link to the relevant page on our website, adventuresinzerogravity.com. And you can fire any questions at us there, and we'll happily sort of go into any of the sort of nitty-gritty that you want to find out about. And we hope you've enjoyed the video, and we'll be along with more news and more updates and more explanations of the various strangeness that we're getting up to as a result of this exciting decision very soon. So until then, we'll say goodbye. See you soon!